Hi, I'm Nathan, and I've had a crazy experience with girls as close as possible. And all because I happen to literally live among girls for a while. Do you want me to tell you how it happened? Then watch on, like, leave comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Anyway, when I started high school, I liked a very cool girl. Her name was Liz, but she didn't pay any attention to me. Despite all my charm and beauty, she thought I was weird. Maybe it's true. I'm just very sociable, and I always like to make fun of everyone. Tell stories, talk, mock. Sometimes I go too far, but even a guy like me has feelings, which means I can love. So I fell in love with Liz once. Most of all, I was attracted to the fact that she was part of the synchronized swimming team. It's just a bomb. I thought if I didn't get her attention this year, it would be over because we were in our senior year. My friend Charlie and I once had a bet that I would get to know Liz better, but he just laughed in my face. That's when I decided to go to extreme measures. Just the day before, I heard that the girls' team needed another member. Yes, I was a bit of a jerk, and I wasn't afraid to take risks, especially since it seemed funny. So I wrote a letter to the school's email address, introduced myself to Leslie, and said I would come to the audition the next day. In the evening, I told Charlie everything and he laughed, and then asked me how I was going to go, because I don't have a women's bathing suit, or a wig, and my legs are hairy. Wow, I didn't think of that. We immediately gathered our friends, who gladly agreed to make me a doll. I'll tell you right away, I never thought that the girls are all so messed up. It's a good thing I didn't grow a mustache and a beard. I went to a friend's house, where several friends were waiting for me with lots of makeup and gloves. I was told to lie down on the bed. I thought I was going to get a relaxing massage. I was smeared with something warm on my legs, arms, and chest. And then they stuck some white stickers and told me to hold my mouth with my hands. When I asked why, a hell of a pain shot through my bones. These girls stripped me to the skin. Well, that's what I thought. They were actually pulling out my hair. It was terrible. When they powdered me, made up my hair, did my hair. I used to have shoulder length hair, put on the biggest swimsuit. The most important thing remained. I had to do a breast job and hide something. You know. They quickly built me some things and stuck them on my chest, as if I have a chest, and what all the boys have, we hid with special underpants. Well, 4 hours of work, and I almost looked like Miss Universe. Everyone was laughing around me, and I was just taking selfies. The next day, I went to the casting in the pool, checking in advance whether everything is in place. I put on a beanie, a bathing suit, stuck these things on, and tried to walk like a woman. Then I saw Liz. She was part of the cast. I walked with more or less feminine gait, then walked over to Liz. Charlie was watching from the window, laughing wildly, and I tried to hold back as much as I could. I said hello. We talked for a while, and then I showed you how I can swim. Liz checked it out. I was happy and asked for a phone number, but she said it was not necessary and said that other girls would call me back. I left. Charlie kept telling me I'd never get her phone, but I thought the game was just beginning. Surprisingly, 2 days later, I actually got a call back and asked to come back again. I was selected for the national team. Can you imagine? I couldn't believe my ears. At first, I laughed at myself and then realized with horror that now I have to clean my hair all the time. But I was willing to make such sacrifices to win the argument. This is a matter of honor. From that moment on, I was constantly coming to training, being close to Liz, and I tried to pretend that I didn't understand something so that I could get to know her even better. She helped me with swimming, taught me how to move beautifully, and hang in the water to music. I was getting really excited about it. I just didn't think it would take so long or so seriously. After the first workout, we went to the shower together, and when I went in, it was like I was in heaven. There was a bunch of naked girls standing there, all bathing, passing shampoo to each other, and I tried to pretend it was natural, but I couldn't seem to stop staring. Then I felt uncomfortable inside and realized that it was time for me to leave. I gathered my things and quickly ran toward the exit. Aren't you going to bathe? Liz asked, and I muttered like, no, and ran away. Oh no, I thought for a long time, so I didn't stretch. Charlie asked me a lot of questions at night. Asked myself how I would look at them tomorrow. There's nothing to do. The argument's not yet won. So I gathered my strength and came to training again. Liz often made comments to me because I was always distracted, but I couldn't help myself. I was wondering, if you were in my place, how would you behave? On the second day, I went straight to the locker room to get my things and saw one of our girls crying. Her name was Annie. I sat down to talk to her, and she was crying so bitterly. I found out that her boyfriend had left her. We met for a short time, about a week, and then he invited me to his house. I really liked him, but I never thought that he would leave me after our first night, she said and sobbed on. I suddenly felt so sorry for her, so I calmed her down and went home. In the evening, we met with Charlie, and he immediately began to tell us that day before he broke his personal record for girls. He showed me a photo, and I recognized the girl as Annie. I was kind of annoyed to find out that the same goat is my best friend. Charlie said he wasn't planning anything serious with her, just a one-night stand. Why did you do this? I saw her today, and she's in a lot of pain. I couldn't believe what I was saying. It didn't sound like me, but I really felt sorry for Annie. Charlie twirled a finger at his temple and said I was getting too sentimental. You're really going to be a girl soon, he said, and left. That night, I went to Annie in my disguise, and she was sitting in the schoolyard, crying again. When she saw me, she started yelling at me to stay away because she knew that Charlie and I were friends. I calmed her down, told her it wasn't worth it, and then gave her a pie and wiped away her tears. We had a nice time and a laugh, and then she said that this experience with Charlie would make it easier to get burned. I was glad that I was able to help her. Charlie found out about our friendship and was furious. He came to our training session and approached Liz. He knew how important it was for her to perform, and he also knew the truth about me. In short, there was a terrible story. He showed up and took off my fake breasts in front of everyone. Then I tore off my bathing suit, and Liz fainted. He made it sound like I was some kind of maniac who was almost sniffs women's underwear and played this whole concert for Liz's panties. I was so angry that I jumped on him and hit him hard. We fell in the pool and got into a fight. Liz was hysterical. After this incident, access to the team was closed to me. All the girls hated me, and of course, Charlie and I are no longer friends, and only Annie supported me the best as she could. I was the last asshole in Liz's eyes. I disgraced the team. I let them down right before the first show, and all thanks to my stupid ideas of making fun. Liz hated me, and that's what hurt the most, because I really liked her. The principal of the school heard about my illegal participation, deception, said that he was obliged to punish me. He promised to expel me from the school, and I did not expect such consequences. Dropping out of school at the end of the year is not a good prospect. I spoke to him and said that only if the team captain asked me to leave, I would leave. And as you understand, the captain is Liz. A day later, I was about to confess everything to my parents, but suddenly the principal called me to the office. When I went there, she was sitting there. I was surprised and at the same time ashamed. She asked me not to be excluded. We left the office and she said that she had heard Annie's story about my help. It was only because of her that I asked to leave you, she said. It was nice. In general, since then we began to communicate, well, as friends. But I found a replacement. One of my makeup artists just used to swim, so they quickly prepared for the competition.
Hi, my name is Rachel or Richie. I was 18 when I went to college, and I always wanted to study computer programming. I dreamed of making new friends, and the change of environment itself will bring a lot of new experiences. First, I will tell you a little bit about my family. My father heads a construction company, my mother is a housewife, and they have 8 children, including me, 7 sons, and me. Ask what it's like to live with 7 brothers, and I'll tell you. I was born the middle child, the 4th in a row. For as long as I can remember, Dad's garage was always full of toy guns, cars, and soldiers. The father barely had any time to buy new toys, as they were immediately destroyed by one of the sons, not specially, of course, during the game. Too much brothers loved to get used to the role of the Hulk and other Marvel characters. Time passed, and gradually toys were replaced by gadgets, game consoles. The boys grew, and with them increased the number of dirty socks scattered around the house. But you can't imagine what went on in our bathroom when the boys shaved their beards. Our family bought men's looms and shaving foam at the supermarket like matches on the last day before the apocalypse. The trips to the hairdresser, they carried more than I am. But most of all, I didn't love when they all played football together. Why? Because after an interesting game, when they entered the house, the living room turned into a torture chamber of smell of sweat. Our dog, with its super sense, hid under the carpet at such moments as the ostrich, searching for ways to escape. My father was happy that the house had the power to fix something, move it, rearrange it. None of this was a problem. Only my mom and I had problems. My mother had a headache about how she feeds this football team, and I had to clean up these dirty socks after them. Being the only sister wasn't so easy. On the one hand, I had a lot of defenders. On the other, these heroes often did not mind their own business. For example, whenever I was going on a date, my older brother would give me extra work so that I would be later tired, and the middle ones would be telling me about how young I was. Oh, it drives me crazy, and my brothers made every date a quest. There was a feeling that the main goal of the evening was the only one thing: to ruin my date. One day I was sitting with my boyfriend John in a cafe having dinner. The evening was as beautiful as my couple. We planned to take a little walk around the city after a delicious meal. I wanted to enjoy the summer evening. My date asked the waiter for the bill. "Do you have card or cash?" I heard a very familiar voice. When I looked up, I saw my brother at number 3. He came smiling to our table in a waiter's uniform. Don't ask how he got it. He wanted to get a closer look at my boyfriend. "By card," said my boyfriend, and I, being in shock, opened my mouth and watched as my dear brother grabs my hand, pulls me out of the cafe, and says I didn't like him. To say that I was angry is to say nothing. It seems that all the customers of the restaurant that night were in shock from such a cheeky waiter and did not dare to ask for the bill for a long time. My brother managed to force me out onto the terrace before John jumped up and ran after us. Not finding out about anything, Johnny just knocked my brother down with an uppercut, and he attacked him. My God, there was a fight between them, in which my screams and attempts to stop them were useless. I don't want to say about the minutes of shame among the cafe's guests. 3 minutes later, they were separated by passers-by. At this moment, I was all in tears, hysterical and shouting about how I was ashamed of such a relative. "Brother?" asked John. "Nice uppercut," my brother said, and shook John's hand. He could read a lot of questions in my eyes, but I knew that a man's conversation was brewing between them. So I said goodbye to John, called a taxi, and went home. I will probably never know what kind of test my favorite brothers gave, but I will say one thing. 6 months later, John proposed marriage to me, and very soon I will have to meet his family. By the way, he has 7 sisters.